Hi everyone, my name is Flavius. Of course, this one I guess I've already informed you about. And I'm the one that is basically going to take you through Computer Applications 1. And for today's lesson, I just want to give you a summary of the entire course, what is expected of us, and see how we can move along. So, Computer Applications, basically, the module is designed to equip the trainee with knowledge, skills, and attitude that will enable him or her to appreciate the use of computers. This is one unit basically that a student that is undertaking his or her diploma or certificate in ICT should be able to do. Why? The reason is that this is the beginning of your entire course. As you get to study Computer Applications 1, you basically get to understand the introductory part of other units that are going to tackle things like the operating system, which is also a unit that is supposed to take. Remember, there's also the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, you're going to write a business plan. And so this very important unit of Computer Applications 1 will assist you in the other units. So the main objective for us is to basically understand the basic concepts of computer applications, appreciate and use word processing application as a software, the use of Microsoft Excel, the use of database, appreciate the use of desktop publishing, that is Microsoft Publisher. There's also the importance of us getting to know the presentation applications. In this case, we're talking about Microsoft PowerPoint. We have the internet and email for all your communications. That is just in brief of what is expected of us. And like I did do my introduction, remember, all of us are expected to take this course seriously because in each and every week there will always be lessons, and in these lessons I'll be attaching or rather uploading on a dashboard the notes and even some bit of practical the moment you start tackling the applications. All of us who are taking the diploma in ICT and even certificate in ICT, all of us are combined. So this is the unit that basically combines both diploma and certificate students. For diploma students, you normally have two papers. There'll be the theoretical paper, that's your paper 1, and then there's the paper 2, where you take purely the practical, and the practical that you'll be tackling in this case will be as follows. You'll be doing Microsoft Word, that is word processing. There'll be spreadsheets using Microsoft Excel, presentation using Microsoft PowerPoint, and database using Microsoft Access. For certificate students, you people will be able to tackle word processing using Microsoft Word, Excel. For spreadsheets, we have PowerPoint and Publisher. So that is how it is split. You notice that for certificate students, you people are not going to take Microsoft Access, that is the database. Instead, you'll be able to do Publisher. This is what is expected of us as groups of students that take this. So, straight to the point on a brief introduction on this lesson 1 is that the computer basically is split into two key components. We have got what we call the software and the hardware. These are very, very important key components of a computer. So as a student, you are required, of course, to know what a software is and the hardware. Software is further split into various components. We have the system software, and the other key component is the application software. This is how, at this level, we are going to split this. system software and the application software. On the other part, we have the hardware. And remember, like I said, the hardware is further divided into various components. We have the input devices. We have the output devices. We have the storage devices. We have the main memory. We have the communication devices. And we have, lastly, we have the CPU. Basically, this is how our computer is, software and the hardware. Remember, the hardware are basically the physical components that you literally can, touch and feel. While the software, of course, we can't touch it. But remember, the software are basically, a simple definition would be the instructions. They are basically pieces of instructions that instructs our computer how to perform various tasks. At the very beginning, when I was introducing the course objectives, or rather the unit objectives, I mentioned about databases, I mentioned about the word processing. Those are basically software that are grouped under the Microsoft Office, the Microsoft Office application. So that is the software. They basically have got various users, unlike the hardware that we touch and feel. A good example of a hardware component, we talk about the mouse, and that mouse is grouped under the input devices. Input devices are devices that you basically use to enter data into the computer. So the mouse, we use it, of course, to click. You can click, hold on an item, and then drag it. A good example of that device that we use under the input is the mouse. We got the keyboard. We have got the touchpad. Most of the smartphones that you're using, basically, they use a touch-sensitive screen, which what we call the touch screen. On the laptop, we have the touchpad. So those are all grouped under the input devices. We have got the output devices. These are basically devices that now we use in the computer, or rather the computer uses to pass back that information to us. One of them, the main one, is what we call the screen. Your computer monitor is a very good example of an output device. We have the printers. Of course, for me to be able to get a printout of this, I had to use a printer. So that printer gives me paper copies of a soft copy document that is stored within my computer. We have the speakers. Of course, when I'm using my machine and I decide, to play some music, I'll use my speaker, based on the kind of application. Again, we go back to the software, based on the application that I'm using, say Windows Media Player, or maybe I'm using iTunes. As I play my music on my computer, I get to listen that using an output device we call, the speaker. Storage devices are devices, basically, that you use in the computer to store data. One of the main storage devices in the computer is the internal hard disk. Remember, the hard disks are different. We have the internal one, and we also have the external hard disk. Those fall under the storage devices. The main memory, remember, this is one of the main or rather the key components in a computer, because without the memory, our computer wouldn't work. CPU and, of course, the communication devices. The communication devices now are the devices that we'll be able to use in our computer to be able to link our machine, the machine that we're using, be it, a smartphone, or rather, let me just call them the mobile devices. It can be your tablet, your laptop, or even your smartphone. The communication devices are now those devices that we'll be able to use to link our component with, the next. So that if I have 10 machines in a computer lab and I want to communicate with somebody who is seated in computer number, say number 4, and I'm on computer number 1, I must have some communication devices that will be able to link me. This basically brings in the aspect of the internet, how we get to connect our machines. Things like the router will fall under this. Some of us back then, we used to have what was called the modem. Today we don't have the modem. Instead, what we have, the modem has been replaced with a new device we call the MiFi, the internet MiFi. So it is a small handheld device that it basically acts, rather you can configure it as a hotspot, so that while in the office or even while at home, you can be able to connect your machine. So all, say you have 5 users, all of you can be able to connect to that device. Then the CPU, that is the central processing unit. This is the brain of the computer. Without the CPU, actually your machine will be able to work. So the CPU, we refer to it as the central processing unit. We can as well call it the microprocessor or simply the processor. It is the brain. It is one of the most important components in the computer, without which our machine can't work. So, for today's lessons, I just thought that I just get to dissect on the introductory part of this unit for us to understand what really makes up a computer. That is, software and hardware. We have got the hardware components, like you've listed them, from the input, output, storage devices, the main memory, the communication devices, and the CPU. And when we come to the software part, we have the system software and the application software. A lot of these I've already explained them and are well defined in our notes. So kindly follow the notes and ensure you make good use of the time. Our lesson, when it starts and when it ends, has been well defined in our timetable that is appearing on your dashboard. So let me say thank you for today, and we meet in our next lesson. Thank you and God bless you.